Can you believe that in order to make this silver apple drawing truly shine, we need to add brown and black? In this lesson, we're going to focus on high contrast only. We already have the basis of the silver apple established with white and gray. Now, how do we make it actually reflective? I'm Lisa Mitrokhin, artist and founder of It's Easy to Draw Art Academy. And in this 1 out of 80 lessons from my Metallics Effects Masterclass, I will show you how adding dark hues instead of light ones is what creates the illusion of shiny metals. For our silver specimen to look truly silver and reflective and polished, we need to establish a high contrast. We already spoke about that a little bit in the beginning of this project. And now that we have several layers of shading established and the shading is looking smooth, we can come in with very dark hues. For my first very dark hue, I'm using a dark brown. This is an unusual choice. Once again, it's going to be different every single time. Why am I using brown for silver? We talked about it being completely on the gray corner of our color triangle. So why am I bringing in a shade of yellow? My Pencils Pro students, you should know that brown is indeed a shade of yellow. So why am I bringing in a shade of yellow if this metal has no yellow hues in it? It's the environment. Once again, I imagine that this apple exists in a room that is warmly lit. So some warm hues will translate into the surface of our metal. Remember again that when we draw metals, we're never really drawing the metal object. We're drawing the metal object and the entire environment around it because of the reflective nature of the metal. So for me, I went with this dark brown. It's a bit of a bold move. If you're not quite comfortable with it, that's perfectly fine. Simply go with a very dark gray instead. An 80 or 90% dark gray will be perfectly fine here. If you're working with a pencil set whose names of the pencils don't give you percentages, if it's charcoal gray or spider gray or I don't know, coral reef gray, whatever crazy colors pencil names have these days, don't despair. You can still figure out the intensity of your gray pencil. Simply grab a scratch pad and see if you apply that pigment at a pretty strong pressure all the way and really grind it into the page. For the sake of science, never for coloring, but for the sake of science, really grind it into the page. What is the maximum intensity that it's giving you? If it doesn't get any higher than about 50%, then that's a 50% pencil, more or less. Of course, you can also make it less with the shading itself, but you can never make it more. If you scratch that pencil on the page and it creates a nearly black effect, then that's your 80 or 90%. Once again, please revisit the grayscale section, both in Pencils Pro and the Fundamentals of Drawing, on how to calibrate your grays and your blacks and understanding the grayscale in general. That's a whole separate can of worms that we can't get into in this course. But I assume that you either already know this or you're curious enough to go and learn it. And I certainly provide that information in my flagship courses. Now that I've added my dark brown or a dark gray, if you prefer, all over to the areas that are already the darkest of the apple, we can see that suddenly it looks a lot more reflective, a lot more polished, and not at all a real apple. Like at this point, there's no question about it. This thing is not natural. It's made out of something shiny and reflective. But once again, we're adding light, dark, and with this dark layer, we can see more of the pencil strokes. So we'll come in with yet another blender. This is a 20% French gray. How do I decide how many times to go back and forth on a blender? It depends on the effect that I'm going for. Since I want this to be nearly hyper-realistic, I can go back and forth several times. If the effect didn't come out well the first time, you can always come back with your light, dark, again and again. And if you are applying very light pressure, you should never lock yourself out of those layers. You can keep going until you achieve the desired effect. But you may also find that as you add more and more layers of your wax pencils or your oil pencils, depending on what you're working with, that on layer 5 or 6, you're actually digging holes into your coloring, that the previous pigments are being scratched off. If that's happening, you're using way too much pressure. So print this page out again and try again. Remember, friends, this is just one out of 80 video lessons in this course. If you already picked up some useful tips and tricks just from this tiny teaser, imagine the possibilities when you enter the full program. When you join a course, any course in the Academy, all the course content is yours to keep forever and to go through at your own pace and as many times as you like. For your convenience, we also offer multiple payment plan options. And there may even be a sale running right now. Please check the pinned comment of this video for a special coupon code if that's the case. Don't stop at that brown or gray. With silver, it is essential to bring in pure black. The more reflective you want this thing to look, the stronger your pure black should be. And deciding on where to apply this is super simple. At this point, all of your information is already established. So we simply add the black to the areas that are already the darkest. But always we're practicing that smooth shading technique, creating very gentle gradient transitions from dark areas to light areas. This is getting a little bit advanced. I mean, to be fair, this entire course is very advanced. But even within this course, this level of shading and detail is advanced. It's difficult. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this is easy. It's easy with practice and guidance, but by themselves, none of these effects are naturally easy. It's easy for me because I have a ton of practice and a ton of confidence. If you are not quite there yet, worry not, you will be. All you need to do is keep practicing. No matter how much theory you get from me, you will not get the confidence, you will not get the results that you want unless you actually sit down and practice. This is a hands-on skill. Theory will only get you so far. It's there to guide you as you're practicing the physical skill. So go ahead and infuse your silver apple with pure black elements, but be super careful and keep that shading smooth. Notice that I keep coming back in with my 20% French gray for a blender. That's because black is very difficult to shade with. I mean, it's easy to shade with, but it's difficult to shade with and have it look flawless. So when you see those strokes creeping back in, keep the shader pencil close at hand so that it comes in immediately and cleans up whatever imperfection just happened. If you enjoyed this little demo, please give it the thumbs up, subscribe to this channel for more tips and tricks, and join the Academy. If you're not quite ready for the metals course yet, we have a ton of other material on both drawing and coloring, ranging from quick and easy color alongs to full-length university level courses. I'm Lisa Mitrakin. Thank you so much for watching.